Good morning, everyone. So this video is going to support you, I hope, to do the task that's going to come out to you this week in the post. So we're going to look at using tables, inserting a table, creating a document that's based on a timetable, essentially. So there's a couple of things we're going to look at first. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to organize my page setup and my layout and how I want everything to be before I begin to create the document. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to have a look at my layout. So I'm going to come here. So at the moment you can see that I'm in the Home tab. I'm going to move across here to the Layout tab because I want to take a look at a few things in here. So I'm going to click on Layout, and then over here there's two things that I want to have a look at. I want to have a look at my orientation or the arrangement of my page, and I want to look at my margins. So at the moment the page is set to portrait orientation. So if I click, you'll see that the one that's selected here, and I know which one is selected because it's grayed out. There's like a grey background. So at the moment my page, and I think as a default they're set to portrait, but for this task, for your timetable, I'd like you to set your orientation to landscape. So if I click that, you'll see in a moment how the format of the page basically changes. And I think I've looked at this before in the classroom. So if you think of portrait mode, if you think of a portrait painting or a portrait picture, it's usually in a vertical, the head at the top, and the body sort of maybe at the bottom of the painting. So that's a vertical image or a portrait image. And then landscape, I suppose, if you think of it being a broader shape, a broader picture, that usually landscape layout then is more like a horizontal view of what you're looking at. Okay, so I've changed my page from portrait to landscape, and now I want to take a look at my margins. So there are preset or default margins that are set up, but we have the option to change those. We can customize the margin. So you can see here, if I just take the top one here, you have a top, a bottom, a left and a right margin on your page. And you can set those to a specific measurement if you wanted to. And then there are some preset options here that you can make a selection from. So if I wanted to customize my margin, I could just come down here to custom margin. I click on custom margin, and then you can see here in top, bottom, left and right, you have the option to increase or decrease the size of the margins. Okay, I'm just going to click OK there for a second. So in margins for this task, I want you to come in here and select a narrow margin. So I'll just show you. You can see here where my cursor, my flashing cursor is on the page at the moment, and on the ruler, you can see that these are the preset margins on my ruler. So I'm just going to go up now and select a narrow margin for this page. So you can see it's quite, from the measurements here, it's quite small. So I'm just going to click, and you'll see then my cursor has moved and my markers on my ruler have moved to a narrower position for my page layout. Okay, so that's our layout setup. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go back to our Home tab, and I'm going to set the font and the font size. So for this task, I think I've asked you to use the font called Verdana and a font size of 14. Okay, the next thing we're going to do, we're going to add in a table. You're going to create a timetable for me this week. So to organize, sometimes even within a document, if you have particular information that's important, sometimes it's a good idea to set that up inside a table because it's just quite clear and easy for the reader to see. And tables sometimes are a nice way to present your information. Okay, so to insert a table into our document, we need to go to our Insert tab. So I'm going to click on the Insert tab, and here you'll see we have a table. We've used a number of things in the Insert tab, so a lot of the time we add pictures or we might add a shape. We've also added maybe a header and a footer before, and some symbols. So you're used to using the Insert tab, I hope, a little bit. You're a little bit familiar with it at this point. So we're going to add our table. Okay, so if I just click on my little drop down arrow there. Okay, so there's two ways that you can do this. I'm going to show you both. You pick whichever you prefer, whichever way you prefer to do it. So these here represent our columns. So your columns are the sections of your table that go lengthways down the page. So you can see here I've got 3 columns. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And if I come down, these are my rows. So they're my rows within my table. So at the moment, this table has 8 columns. So the columns are the ones that go lengthways, and the rows are the ones that go across. Okay, so for this task, I believe I've asked you to add a table with 6 columns and 8 rows. So if I just click enter, that's the table that I get available to me. Okay, at the moment you can see my blinking cursor is inside of the table. To take the cursor outside of your table, you simply hit the enter key. Okay, so you can see now my cursor is outside of my table. I'm going to just click down here and show you the other way that you can add a table to your document. So if I come to insert again and I click on my drop down, I can come down here to quick tables. Okay, some people insert table. Some people don't like doing it here from this little grid. Other people prefer to do it from here. So you can come to insert table. And then here we have the number of columns and the number of rows. So for this task, I've asked for 6 columns and 8 rows. And I can click OK. And I get exactly the same table added into my document as above. Okay, so you go with whichever of those you are happiest to use. Okay, so I'm just going to show you here. I think you can see clearly that my blinking cursor or my flashing cursor is inside of this table. So that means the table is now selected. It's ready for me to work inside it. And when that happens, up here, we have table tools tabs that become available to us when we are working inside a table. So you have this one here, table design, which is open at the moment, and we can look at all sorts of things in here like borders around our table, shading, things like that. And in our layout, which is probably the one we're going to use more, we have various options in here that I'm going to look at and I'm going to show you. So if I just hit my return key again, if I just click, because it's a second table on the page, it won't let me do the same thing. But if I click outside it, you can see here that the tables tools tabs are now not available to me. Whereas if I click inside the table again, the table tools tabs become available to me. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of this table down here because I don't need both of them. So the fastest way to select your entire table is just to come here to this little icon here, click on it, and I am just going to hit my backspace key. I'm getting rid of that table. I don't want the two because I just don't want things to be confusing. It's just clearer if I'm working on this one table here. Okay, so I am just going to show you. So if I just type in here Monday, okay, so rather than clicking into each of the cells in your table, so you can obviously use your mouse, and if you wanted to click inside of a cell, of course you can do that. But an easier way or a faster way to navigate your way through your table is using your tab key. So in here, if I type Tuesday and I tab across, it takes me straight into the next cell. Okay, what else did I want to show you? So we've looked at, so far we have organized our page layout from portrait to orientation. to landscape rather. We've changed our orientation from portrait to landscape. We've looked at our margins and we've selected a narrow margin. If I click in the Home tab, we have selected our font and our font size. We've looked at including our table or adding in our table. So what I want to do is I'm just going to delete this text here because I want to show you how you can merge cells. So in my top row here, so in this row here, I don't want these grid lines here to show between the columns. So I can do what's called merge the cells. So there's two ways that I can do that. I can click here, click and drag and highlight this entire row. And then I can right click and I can come down here and I can select merge cells. And if I click outside the table, you'll hopefully see that now there are no grid lines showing except for the exterior table grid lines. But the grid lines are no longer in this top row. So I'm just going to click undo there and I'll show you the other way you can do it, probably an easier way. So as you can see, once again, because I'm inside the table tools tabs are open to me. So I have table design and I have table layout. So if I click on layout, I can easily come in here and if I select this row, the merge cells option becomes available to me. So I can just click merge cells and the same thing is done. The cells are merged. And now in here, if I come to my Home tab and I center my cursor and I'm just going to type in here my timetable. So if I wanted my heading to appear just in the top row of my timetable, this is how I achieve that. You merge the cells, you center your cursor inside the table, same as we do for any document, and you just go ahead and type your heading in there. Okay, so I'm just going to show you as well. So remember I said the easiest way or the fastest way to navigate your way through your table is to use your tab key, or you can use your arrow keys. So I've moved now to my arrow keys on my keyboard, and I'm just arrowing left, right, arrowing up, arrowing down. Okay, so I'm just going to arrow back to my top cell here, and I'm just going to show you. So if I say I wanted to type the word Monday in here. Okay, so I've made a mistake. I've misspelled the word Monday. So the easiest way, you can click back into the cell, of course, you can click back into the cell, but if you're not using your mouse and your hands are kind of on your keyboard, the easiest way to navigate backwards within the table or back to a cell is to use your Shift key and the right arrow. Okay, and I'm just going to take out that Y, that misspelled Y. Okay. The next thing I think I ask you to do on this task is I ask you to add a footer for me. So again, we're back to our Insert tab and we're all the way over here and we're going to select footer. And we're going to select a blank footer. And in the footer, I believe I want you to center your text. I'll just hit backspace to get rid of that text that comes up by default, and I think I've asked you to put your name and today's date into your header, your footer rather, sorry. Okay, and I'm just going to click outside of my footer here to close it. Okay, for my heading here, I'm just going to change the color of the font in there. I think I asked you to change it to maybe purple. So I'm just going to do that. So that's how we change our font color. I'm also going to make it bold and I'm going to apply italics as well. Okay, so I hope that helps, folks.